Wherever you go, I go. You ride, I ride. Promise?
Promise.
Dominic Toretto just turned on us.
Don't give up on him.
You chose to be here.
I got no choice!
The real Dom is in there somewhere.
Wait!
You love me, and you are not gonna shoot me.
Rated PG-13. Experience it on IMAX.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another brand new episode of Matt at the Movies, and this time I went out to see The Fate of the Furious, or Fast 8, or F8, or whatever the fuck people want to call it. I think it was either last year or the year before. It was Fast 7 or whatever that one was called. It's like they're getting like crazy, like James Bond names for these movies. But when I saw that one, I was just like, this franchise is getting to a point where it every time a new one comes out, it has to almost top itself in ridiculousness. Because Fast 7 had a lot of very ridiculous moments. And say for 8. There were moments, but they weren't as over the top as 7s were. Like, this one actually was more of a straight up heist movie with some, like rogue natures to it, and behind, enemy line crap and all that kind of stuff. Because the main selling point in this one is Dom goes rogue on his team, and he turns his back on family, all that kind of crap. And I always thought it's all about family tagline was always kind of funny. But in this one, yes, Dom does go rogue. Charlize Theron shows up, and she's like, you're going to work for me. And he's just like, no, I'm not. And she's like, oh, yes, you are. And, no, I'm not. And then she shows him a phone. It's just kind of like, oh, well, no, I'm going to work for you. So, she has something on him. You don't know about it. And, not to spoil much of anything, but, so then he goes rogue. And basically, this movie is a love letter to over-top cheesy action, in a sense. Like, there are scenes, which I will get into, in the non-spoiler section of this. There are scenes in this where there are just things going on that you're like, if you went into this movie and you have a thing for wanting to follow physics and the laws of nature, you're not going to be very happy. I mean, there are things that cannot be done, and you're just sitting here just, okay, I accept that this is this world, so it's just going to happen. And that being said, though, sometimes in a movie like that, I will, my rational mind will just kind of kick in, and I'll get a little ticked, because I'm like, oh, now come on, we can't go too crazy here. Like, how much are you expecting me to believe? And in this, I had that moment a couple times, but it didn't stop me. Like, the action is great. Whenever The Rock's on screen and he's doing his thing, he's going toe to toe with people, or whenever Jason Statham's on screen and he's doing his thing, the car chases and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know if I become desensitized to the level that these movies have set. Because let's just face it, from action movies that we had in the 80s till now, the bar got a little bit lower, but only a little bit. I mean, there are some really bad 80s action movies that we, for some reason, are like, these are the paramount of, where action movies need to be. But it did everything that it needed to do, and, I'm not going to lie, for a movie series that started with car racing, and then it basically got morphed into heist movies and kind of secret agent stuff. Like, it did it well. And there are points where there's even some pretty touching emotional moments. And I can't believe I'm even saying that with, with the concept of what it is. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but there's some very emotional moments. Like when you find out why why Dom turned his back on everybody, like, you feel for the guy. So, that being said, it does really well. I can't, I know I've said that probably several times already. It does very well, but for what it is. And I went into this expecting it to not be good at all. Like, I remember saying to my wife as I was, as the day turned over, and I'm like, I'm going to have to go see this goddamn movie today. Because, Fast 7, with the ridiculous action that it had, it's still like, when I left, I was like upset because I was just like, this is so stupid. I was like, this was Paul Walker, this was his swan song, this freaking movie where they just, like, it was not my favorite. But this kind of seemed to, it turned it around a little bit, and it made it, it almost recognized how ridiculous it is, and it made it work. That's basically all I can really say for it. If you're looking for something with over-the-top action and cheesy lines, not very well-written dialogue, that's one of the major things I will say. There are some very cringeworthy dialogue parts, and, as much as I hate saying this, because Charlize Theron normally does a decent job, she's a decent actress when she's doing what, when people give her a role that she excels at, she does really well, but she's very wooden in this, and that's just because of the way the character's written. So I can't really fault her for that, but she's probably one of the more downplayed sides of the movie. I mean, we all know Vin Diesel can't really act. He voices a fucking CGI tree in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just, he's not there because you want to see him act. He's just there because I've got muscles and I can beat stuff up. So that's, but if you're looking for an action movie and you stuck into all the other Fast and the Furious movies, definitely see this one. It is, I'd say it's probably in the top 5 of, the 8 movies, which I can't even fucking believe. Like, when this franchise started, did anybody ever even think this was going to make it to 8 goddamn films? I know I didn't. When it made it to, 3, and then the 4th movie came out, I was like, okay, this franchise is going to die. But no, we're 4 movies after that part, so... and that being said, though, for the 8th, it's good. I enjoyed it. I would give this, a solid, 8 out of 10, I enjoyed this. It was stupid. I turned my brain off, and I just sat back and watched some pretty good action on screen, So, and everybody, besides Charlize Theron and the Tyrese, he needs to go away. He's always there as the comedic relief, and it's just not funny. At least to me, I don't think it's funny. There were a few people in the theater that I guess really thought he was funny, and I was kind of scratching my head, he just yells a lot. What's funny about that? But anyhow, like I said, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Definitely, if you have some free time with a couple of your buddies this weekend, not a good family film, I wouldn't say. It's not hard R or anything like that. I don't even think it is rated R, but it's not super duper violent, but it's violent enough. If you have little kids, I don't think I would take it to them. And, the language, obviously. But, you got, your son, that's of age. You got some buddies, you and your wife just want to go see some kind of stupid action film. Definitely go see it. I would recommend it for this weekend. Now, we're going to get into the spoiler-filled section of this review, where I'm going to go basically from front to back and talk about the movie. So... this movie starts, and you go into it where Dom is, he's basically in I can't remember what country he's in. He's in this tropical area. He's on vacation, honeymoon, with his wife, Michelle Rodriguez's character. So they're just kind of going about their honeymoon. There's a car race in the very beginning of the film because he's trying to win back his cousin's car for him, and then that goes well, obviously, because it's Dom. So then he goes out to go get some stuff for their honeymoon the one day, and it just looked like a bag that had a carton of milk and a rose in it. I don't know, it was weird. And then Charlize Theron's just there with pretending that her car is broken down. He goes to help her, and she's like, "Oh, how's that honeymoon going, Dom?" Hands him this phone. There's a little bit more expedition. Hands him this phone. He's looking at it, and then it kind of cuts away, and then they're doing a heist where they're trying to get this EMP, and The Rock's like, you know, in the lead, he's telling them everything that they're needing to do, and, you know, it's The Rock, so he's driving like this gigantic fucking vehicle that probably guzzles a half a gallon of gas for every 10 feet it drives, and, you know, the heist goes well, it's successful, then Dom turns on him, knocks his car over, steals the EMP, and then that's when, like, he's rogue. Which, you know, when you find out why Dom is doing this, like, basically they have his, a significant other of his from back in the day. It might have been some Fast and the Furious movies I didn't see, because I didn't recognize the character, but she's basically with his son. So you find out he has a kid, and they're both being held captive by Charlize Theron. And I'm going to stop calling her that, because her character name in this movie is probably one of the most cliched, overused, stupid names that you could put on somebody who is a hacker. And I wish you could say, I'm using quotes, a hacker. Her name in the movie is Cypher. I got fucking douche chills when I heard that. And really, you couldn't come up with anything else. Cypher. Like, seriously? So, Cypher, Jesus Christ, she is basically blackmailing him to do all this stuff, or she's going to kill his son. So, it's just, it's just a tour de France of random scenes of Vin Diesel going to places, and the other guys trying to stop him, and him getting away. That's basically all it is. And, I think some of my favorite scenes in the whole thing, and I'm just going to break it down, it's basically action scenes. Like, you know, obviously you have the scenes in between where he's trying to figure out how to get his kid out of this, and then, you know, every step of the way she's just one step ahead of him, and he can't figure it out. And so there's a part where he fakes his car's breaking down, which he has a pedal installed in his car to make it fake breakdown. I don't understand how the hell that works, or why you'd even want something like that, unless you're in this very specific situation where you need to fake your car breaking down. Maybe it's a street racing thing. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't want a pedal that makes my car break down installed in my vehicle. I don't see, that would never help me. But it does. It helps him in this situation. So he fakes his car breaking down, and he puts the hood up, and the way he puts the hood up, it like kind of blocks, like, because she's able to look through every single camera on the face of the earth because she's a hacker, you know, the best hacker that ever hacked in the world. So she's watching him on his like one street cam surveillance thing, and then she can't see him, so she's like, I need another camera. And they hack into this other camera that's on like a freaking ATM across the street, and then that doesn't work, and she's just like, oh, find me any kind of visual, like anything you got, like if it's bouncing off of like a reflection or whatever, find it. And they're actually like showing them going through all these different cameras, and the animation that's used is fucking hilarious to me, because like this does not exist. Like, they're going through every camera, and it's got like this red grid that like zooms in on reflective surfaces of cars and windows and side mirrors and all that shit, and I'm like, no, that does not exist. Like, you're wanting me to you're wanting me to believe that this woman can do this shit, and I'm like, no, this doesn't work. It does not exist. But, you know, while she's doing that, and flipping shit, by the way, this is like the first time that in this movie that Charlize Theron's character, Cypher, I said I was gonna, like, Cypher is freaking out and, like, you know, screaming at people and everything, like, other than that, she's just completely wooden and just, like, talks like this the whole time. Like, Don, you don't want me to kill your son, Dom. You don't want that. That's what, you know, there was points where I thought I was going to fall asleep when she had dialogue where she just kept talking and talking. It's like listening to a lullaby. So, while that's going on and she can't see him, he sneaks away and he goes to talk to Jason Statham's character's mother. Because I guess, you know, his brother was somebody who I guess was thought that was killed in previous Fast and Furious movies. Again, like I said, I've only saw like the first 2 and 7 and 8. I didn't see any of the ones in between. But that's what I gathered from this point. So he goes in there, he's trying to talk to her, she's being resistant, but he's like, I got something to show you, and this might change your mind, and, then by the time the car that's blocking him moves out of the way, and, that he's there, he figured it was a spark plug, and he shows it to the camera, and then, he's safe. It was such a ridiculous, non-plausible scenario, and she's like, you have 5 minutes. And literally, I think like 15 passed. Like it had to have been in real time because nobody can get from his car to wherever he had to go in like 5 minutes, had the conversation that he had, and then get back and remove a spark plug from a car. Like it was just really funny. I'm like, oh, of course, because it's Dom. Which, by the way, that's one thing I never understood. It's just, like he's just a guy who started off in street racing. And then somehow was skilled enough to be able to get all these, like, special agent heist jobs. Like, it's just weird. It's like, just because he's Dom, he can do anything. Like, it's Dom. He can stop a nuclear sub. It's Dom. And he does. That's the other great part. That's a little bit later, but it's just fucking hilarious to me. So, yeah. So we have that scene, and that's taking place in New York, and at the same time, then there's a scene where they all show up, and they're all in their cars, and you've probably seen this in the commercials. They shoot harpoon, like, hooks out at him, catches his car, slams them all around, and he gets away, and, during that whole thing, it looks like he kills Jason Statham's character. So then that sends The Rock, like, on a furious rampage because he just started becoming friends with this guy even though they hated their gut. They hated each other so badly. It was one of those cliche things. So, oh my gosh. There's just so much to happen in this film. It's so full of ridiculousness, but at the same time, it was awesome to witness. It was like one of those weird things. So, there's a part where, in the city, though, he's trying to get away because he has this briefcase that's full of launch codes for these nuclear warheads. Michelle Rodriguez, his love interest, she gets the briefcase from him at one point, and she's running down this alley. And he just thinks, he's like, oh, hey, lady, stop. It's like, you can definitely tell your loved one apart from anybody else in this world. Like, I've never once mistook my wife for just a random stranger. But anyway, that's just me. He thinks it's a random stranger. He's chasing her down this alley, and he pulls a gun. She turns around, and then he's like, oh my God, it's you. She's like, you're not going to shoot me. You love me. She goes around a corner, and one of, like, Cypher's accomplices grabs her. He's going to shoot her. Then Dom pulls his gun out, and Cypher sees the whole thing. So then what happens, they cut to another scene, and basically they shoot the woman that's the mother to his child that they also are holding captive. And that's when basically everything starts going down the shitter for Cypher's team because Dom he's got a plan in motion, and he's going to get his justly revenge because it's Dom. He can do these things. He can have things that are planned like seconds, crucial seconds. He has everything planned right away that for a plan that would take days to prepare. But it's Dom, so you can do it. So then we get to our climactic scene where the heroes are off basically I think it was up in Russia. They're like, they're trying to stop her from stealing this sub that has the nuclear warheads in it because she has the codes, and, it was such a cool action scene, but what ruined this whole thing for me was Tyrese's character, because this is where he goes overboard because he's just screaming everywhere. Everything he's doing is screaming, and for some reason they make him like a pretty good focal point to this action scene. And I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. But between him screaming and shouting all over the place, there's still really good action going on screen. You've got The Rock doing his thing. He's driving, again, another humongous vehicle that's on tank treads, which is fucking ridiculous. I thought that was pretty funny. And, it boils down to them trying to... There's a point where they're doing, like, back and forth, like, almost like hacker name calling, because, like, she's trying to start this one sub up, and they're two guys that are tech savvy, like the one's inside trying to pull this card out for the launch codes, and the other one, the female from the seventh movie, she's up there just like, oh, deactivated it. Oh no, she reactivated it. I'm going to deactivate it again. Oh no, she reactivated it. Oh, I'm going to deactivate it again. It went back and forth like several times. And it's like, we all saw the trailers. This goddamn sub is taking off. I don't even know why we're bothering with this right now. But, so, basically the sub takes off. Then they've got people coming after them, trying to shoot them with rockets-mounted jeeps. And it was just, there was a lot of explosions, a lot of really cool gunfight. It worked, And then, obviously, Dom gets his chance to redeem himself. He gets to kill one of the guys who's been basically an asshole the whole time because you really want him to die. He's one of Cypher's henchmen. He gets to take him out. Then he flies in. He's with his team again. They have they're like driving away, trying to figure out how to stop this sub. Then Cypher shoots out this heat-seeking missile. Dom uses the advantage to, basically make the missile follow him, so it flies into the sub and just blows the sub up and takes it down. In the meanwhile, Jason Statham's character, which you thought was dead, isn't, and he's with his brother, that also was thought was dead from previous movies. They're infiltrating Charlize Theron's plane that she's doing all this from, and this is actually a really cool part because Jason Statham is like saving Dom's kid, and he's got him like in this little baby carry, like the baby bassinet thing that has the arm that you can carry him, and he puts like some headphones on. And he's like playing some like baby music and stuff, and he's like, "Okay, kid, it's gonna get a little messy in here, but it's gonna be a real fun ride." And he's just killing all these people with this baby in the carrier, and it's just like he stops how many times, and he looks at the kid and he's talking to him, and the kid's reacting to the thing that he's saying, and it's actually pretty decent. It was kind of funny. It was probably one of the better parts in the third act of the movie. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. So, we have a reunion then. Everybody's like good again. Dom and his girl, they're back together. They're all happy. She's like, I never doubted you one bit, even though she kind of did at certain parts, but and they have a dinner. I think they close like that in almost every Fast and Furious, where they had like some kind of dinner together at the end, like some kind of group thing where they get together and like pray, and there's some kind of big announcement or whatever. So they're like having the dinner, and he announces, like, because his son didn't have a name at first, because the mom wanted him to name the son, so she just called him by his middle name for the longest time, which is kind of weird. But he names it Brian, which is obviously after Paul Walker's character, I believe. And then that's, our movie ends there, basically. And they leave it open because Cypher gets away. So I believe there's probably going to be a ninth movie in the franchise coming out, because I don't think they're going to leave that loose end open. So I believe there's going to be a fourth one. So that basically is the movie and the gist. Now, some of the things that one thing I want to bring up is one of the most ridiculous scenes in this whole thing. Okay? I skipped this on purpose so I can leave it to the end, because this is something that needs to be seen by everybody. Okay? It needs to be seen by everyone, and it needs to be heard by everyone. There's a scene where Kurt Russell's character, which is the guy who from Fast 7, that is like the one in charge of everything, that's like giving them all their gear and everything, he goes to break The Rock out of jail, right? Because from the EMP heist, when Dom turned on him and flipped his car over, the cops caught up with him. Okay, so he's in jail. Kurt Russell goes to get him out of jail. He stages this whole like, oh, the system's wrong, so all the doors open and the guards are out, basically beating the shit out of people. And Jason Statham was so, coincidentally in the cell across the hall from him, which is really funny. So, all the doors open. He's getting out of his cell to try and go get Jason Statham because he doesn't want him to get away, because at that point they really, hated each other because of what happened in the previous film. So during the whole riot part, cops are showing up and they have shotguns. And the shotguns are loaded with rubber bullets. Okay? Now I know that's not a non-lethal shot, but it's still designed to put somebody down. The Rock takes not one, not two, but several shots from almost point-blank range sometimes of these rubber bulleted filled 12-gauge shotguns and just shrugs it off like it's nothing. I was like, man, this is like watching the Hulk in an Avengers movie, and it is fucking amazing. I mean, he literally gets shot how many times? And he's just like, there's a part like he gets shot and he's like, the camera kind of like zooms into his face. He's like, rubber bullets. Big mistake. And then he just starts like killing people essentially. Like he's breaking people's backs over like freaking guardrails and throwing them like 3 stories to the floor and stuff. Like, it was just fucking, it was a really good action scene. And I just, the shotgun with the rubber bullets part just got me because I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Like, I sometimes feel that I have a pretty good high threshold for pain, because I've taken some pretty big dives in my life and things that I should have been in a lot of pain over, like broken things, and I just kind of like, this sucks. But I think if I got shot with rubber bullets, I don't think I'd be walking it off. I don't think anyone would just be walking it off, honestly. I would even say that if you wore football gear and got shot with rubber bullets, you're probably still going to be in some sort of pain. So, I don't know. I just thought that was a really great part, and I wanted to leave that for the end to close on a really over-the-top, the ridiculous action scene. Because ever since they put The Rock in these, he always gets like some kind of ridiculous over-the-top action thing. And in 7, it was when, the famous daddy's gonna go to work and he breaks his broken arm out of a cast just by flexing it. And then he's strong, his arm's repaired enough that he can actually carry around a Black Hawk helicopter, like mounted Gatling gun. So it's just great. But like I said previously, I'd still give it an 8 out of 10. I know there's some things I complained about, but, not every movie is perfect. But this is a really good, cheesy action flick. If you're looking for over the top, you can look no further than this right now. And basically, it's probably the only real decent action movie that's out right now. I don't think there is another action movie out right now. So, unless you count, like, Kong Skull Island. Yeah, I guess that's action, but this is good. Go see it. Like I said, if you got a bunch of your buddies around, you're trying to waste some time, you and the wife need to go see something and you like action movies, go see it. So that'll be it for this episode of Mad at the Movies. I'm not exactly sure when the next one's going to come out. I'm probably not going to do one every week until there's something to actually watch every week. Last week was Boss Baby and Smurfs, and I kind of did not want to waste my money on either of those, even though I heard that both of them were kind of decent. So, but still, if there's a movie out there that we're interested in, or it's like that I'm interested in, or it's a big release, I'm definitely going to go do another Mad at the Movie episode. So until then, everybody, if you like this episode, please share this episode around with your friends. Tell me how I'm doing in any of the comments below, either on Libsyn or Facebook or Twitter. And I will see you in the next episode of Mad at the Movies. So thank you so much, guys. Bye.